وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على صاحب السنن وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد, alhamdulillah, this is our fifth word, and we'll just do a small recap, inshallah. Those who may have forgotten, those who have not been here. There are 7 characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He loves in the Quran. The first of them mentioned chronologically in the Quran is Tawbah. Allah yuhibbul tawwabin. Right after that, in the same verse, yuhibbul mutatahhirin. So He loves those who cultivate the character of Tawbah and cultivate the character of purity, candor in heart. The third word that we went over, does anyone remember? Sabri. I think Sabri was the first word we went over, but we can put it down. So Tawbah, Tahara, Sabr. We went over Taqwa last week. And then this week, inshallah, just briefly go over Ihsan. Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. The reason why we're going over these is because you're trying to learn the fabric of how to understand the Quran, the framework on which the Quran was built is a book of developing character. So if you don't understand the character that Allah is trying to help us develop, then all of the verses, they look like scattered stars. It looks beautiful, but nothing meaningful comes out of it. Nothing lasting. Allahu khayrun wa abqa, right? It's not just khayr, it's that which lasts. We want something that lasts. And character is the inner image that we were speaking about in the introduction in the first couple of weeks. Our character is the inner image. So we have Surah Al-Zahiriyah, our outward image, how we look to the world. And then we have Surah Batiniyah. There's a picture, how we look inside. And on the day of judgment, that which is out goes in, and that which is in goes out. And that begins when we die. Just to touch on this briefly. When we die, then we put it in the grave. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us, for some people, there will come a nice, very good-looking young man, handsome man, or handsome woman, or sister. Right? The person will say, "Who are you? You look like you're bringing good news." And that person will say, "I am your good news." Meaning, I am whatever you cultivated inside, whatever you built, I am the personification of it. Right? The person could have been outwardly mutilated or hurt or scarred. So outwardly, they don't look so beautiful. But inwardly, they cultivated goodness. So Allah brings it out for them, it's beautiful. But then there's other people that they don't do that. They're outwardly beautiful, but they don't cultivate their character. So they get a very unpleasant looking person that approaches them. And that is only a manifestation of what they did. So this is why it's so important that we understand what Allah says He loves. What Allah says He loves. And we learn how to develop it? How do we grow it like a seed? And we understand what Allah says He does not love, so that we can make sure that we're not intentionally or unintentionally falling into that character. So this week's character is Ihsan. Ihsan, the Sheikh, he translates it as excellence. Excellence. The cultivation of the character of excellence. Ihsan is made up of two qualities, so that one understands how do you balance. It's all balancing act. It's tama, hope on one side, and hope on the other side. So balancing between moments of hope and moments of fear. Not wanting to be too much on the side of hope, where you become deluded. You become deluded because you have what they call long-winded hopes. Thinking I'm something or I'm somewhere, and you're not there. And then fear, extreme fear, is a cause despair. So those are the two opposites. Right? So the opposite of ihsan is dhulm. How often do we see dhulm in the Quran and zalimeen? The reason why those people, what they lack to cultivate is a character of ihsan. Either they lean too much on the side of hope, and they became deluded. And when they became deluded, they did wrong things, or they were too fearful. Fear overcame them, and they despaired. So this is a good picture before we go into some of the verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He loves those who cultivate ihsan. The first of which is in Surah Al-Iman, verse 134. Allah says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. Now you see, when Allah is highlighting the character, He gives very practical things that happen. Why does He love these people? Because of certain things they do. They cultivated what? Just in this example, they were people who gave out, they spent in the way of Allah. This is not only money, they could have spent time, they could have spent whatever Allah gave them, which is valuable, in the time that they were in ease and the time that there was hardship for them. So in both scenarios, this is the balance now, right? Between hardship, what causes fear, and ease that may cause delusion. Too much ease, too much abundance, someone thinks, oh, I have all. And then what's the next step? When they were people who were able to control their anger. Not that they did not get angry. They got angry, but they were able to maintain it. They were able to maintain it and not exceed the boundaries. And then what did they do? And they parted. So this is also touching on other words that we talked about, like taqwa. We were talking about taqwa last week, right? That you do justice, right? It says adl. The one who's able to control his anger is able to do proper justice. And then what? The other side of taqwa, they parted it. Right? They parted it. They saw their fellow human, be it Muslim or not Muslim, and they said, oh, he's just as weak as I am. Maybe one day I'll be in that situation. And so the person who's able to do this balancing act between hope and fear, what does Allah say about it? Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Just to touch on the next verse, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ. That's right. They make dhikr of Allah. The one who commits a wrongdoing or does good, which is opposite of ihsan, or he does good on himself. أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم. What does he do when he realizes that he did that? Allah. First thing he does is dhikr of Allah. He returns back to Allah. Why specifically the name of Allah, not the other names? Allah is being very specific. First, you need to calm down. Right? When you realize you did something wrong, you don't want to rush, because that will cause another problem. No, first calm down. Realize, okay, you made a mistake, khair. Come back, get your heart, calm down, and then astaghfir. After you come down, go back to your Lord in a calm state and make the istighfar. Now it's time to tawbah. Back to the Lord, istighfar, tawbah. Right? We talk about tawbah. So Allah is very, very hopeful. He paints a very hopeful picture for the one who makes a mistake. Which one of us does not make a mistake? And the next one is Surah Al-Ma'idah. That's Surah 5, verse 13. Verse 13 says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فبما نقضيهم ميثاقهم لعناهم وجعلنا قلوبهم قاسية يحرفون الكلم عن مواضعه ونسوا حظا مما ذكروا به ولا تزال تطلع على خائنة منهم إلا قليلا منهم فاعف عنهم واصفح إن الله يحب المحسنين. It's because of their violation of their solemn covenant. We cursed them and we made their hearts hard. They biased the word from its rightful disposition and they forgot to share from that which was given to them as a reminder. And you will continue to discover treachery from them, except a few among them. But pardon them and turn away in a nicely way. Verily, Allah loves those who act in excellence. This is advice that Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, but in extension, He's teaching us. How Allah talks to the Prophet ﷺ is how He's addressing us also. So that we learn how do we address situations when we're in them. So we said ihsan is made of two characteristics. If someone says, how do I become muhsin? Well, the balancing of hope, tama, and khawf, fear. وَمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Right? Fear is, you have fear of something that's above you. Not just physically, but knowledge. Allah's knowledge is greater than ours. Right? And it's not a fear of like, there's a hammer going to come and hit you in the head. No, it's not like that. There's the fear of the station of Allah. Fear of the station of Allah. It's not fear of Allah per se. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ. The maqam, the station. Like someone realizes, sees the policeman, he realizes the station. Oh, this person can do some harm or something like this. So the opposite of ihsan is dhulm. So the person who does not cultivate a balance between the hope and fear, they're going to fall into despair or delusion. So too much hope becomes ghurur. يا أيها الناس ما غرك بربك الكريم. This is why ghurur, because of too much hope. Too much hope. Meaning that, oh, Allah, some people say this, Allah is merciful. Don't worry, Allah is most merciful. It's true. Allah is the most Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. But Allah, inside of that, you cannot forget Shadid al-Iqab. As Allah says it several places, right? He's easy, right? He forgives, but at the same time, he takes account. He takes account. Only for our own benefit. Only for the benefit of ourselves, so that we are balanced human beings. Balance. So when we look at the Quran and inshallah, this is something that we're doing as the weeks are going. The word that we go is just, these are like teasers. We're just touching the topic. And inshallah, everyone can go and do more in-depth reading. Go and look, okay, where is Allah talking about the Muhsineen? Where's Allah talking about the Wajideen or Ghun? And then go through that slowly and see how does that play in our life. To see exactly what is Allah saying about the stories that He's relating to us, so that we're not making the same mistakes. One of the prime examples of the person one of the prophets that exemplified this character is Sayyidina Yusuf. Sayyidina Yusuf. When the lady was calling him, he immediately remembered, no, I fear the station of my Lord. He said, I fear the station of my Lord. Remember, I'm not going to wrong Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is right upon me that I don't come to this calling. And the reward of the one who cultivates this character is knowledge and wisdom. Unfettered access to knowledge and wisdom of Allah. Allah grants this person. So this is what we're saying. Whenever someone who is striving to cultivate their character in one of these seven, when Allah writes it upon them, Allah grants them a certain gift. We're talking about Luqman, I think, a few weeks ago, that Allah gave him hikmah. But He gave him hikmah not as without his work. He cultivated his character, and when he achieved and accomplished his character, Allah granted him wisdom. Surah Al-Baqarah again, we also see Sayyidina Ibrahim, Allah says, Sayyidina Ibrahim, وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. Allah tested Ibrahim with some words, and he completed them. Then what did Allah do in response to that? إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. And he was a prophet at this point, and he was still being tested to cultivate it. And the prophets are the people who go through the most trials. But because they exercise through them, they exercise through tawbah, they exercise through taqwa, they exercise through ihsan. They're constantly working on their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inwardly. Outwardly, they're dealing with the world. Buying, selling, trading. But inwardly, they're cultivating, they see a problem arise, they see a situation, so, this is Allah, it's asking me to respond in a certain way. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. Right? Or you who believe, respond to the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call you to that which brings you life. That calling does not necessarily come to prayer, although that may be one of them. Because Allah tests in both ease and hardship. It's not about the ease, it's not about the hardship, it's not about the promotion that you got or you got fired. It's not about, those are just scenarios that Allah may use in our lives to see how will you respond now. Do you see who's calling you or you don't see who's calling you? And once we realize, okay, all of it, كُلٌّ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ, all of it is from Allah. When you start using that perspective, then okay, from now on, maybe I will put myself in a exercise. 40 days, 50 days, I'm going to see everything from Allah. Whatever comes, my heart is going to be on responding to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ease or difficulty? Strength takes time, right? So we see, say the Yusuf story is going to be even higher in maqam than his father. But he has to go through all of the words are mentioned in Surah Yusuf. He went through all of them. He was tested with this, he was tested with that, he was tested with that. Every time Allah gave him a piece of knowledge, then he tested him. In fact, that's when the tests come usually. Allah may give you a piece of knowledge, then next thing you know, a trial comes. Because it's not enough to know things only theoretically. Theoretical knowledge means nothing to Allah. Because the Orientalist, the Kafir, anyone can know things theoretically. It's only through hardship and difficulty and tests that those who are true, they shine. They shine. In whichever of the characteristics that Allah is trying to help cultivate in them. Sometimes, inshallah, like you can take a look at these characteristics and you kind of think about yourself. Say, okay, I am a person that I lean towards, like say, ihsan. Like I really like it. I like about the idea and concept. It feels closer to me about hope and fear. Something that goes on in me. Someone else may think, no, I want to work on suffering. Everyone has something. And if someone's having a difficult time figuring out what good quality they want, they can see what are they struggling with. Because usually all of us, we have a recurring problem. And until we face it and overcome it, there's no next trial. It just keeps coming. Right? Allah saying, no, you have to pass this one before you go to the next one. Just to close on a small story from the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as when he sent Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal, and he was giving him advice. He told him that when he goes to and teaches the people to take it easy. He said, what are you going to teach them? So I will teach them about Allah. And he told them, when you do that, wait. Wait until it goes in. It's like you have a buffet, you can't just keep putting food in someone's plate. Let them finish their plate first. Right? Let them digest it, or else you're going to cause even that is going to cause indigestion. Nothing wrong with the food. Nothing wrong with teaching Tawheed. But we didn't wait. We weren't patient enough. We wanted the next thing. We wanted to give them the next thing. And the person is overwhelmed because he hasn't had time to digest. His systems may collapse because he drank too much water at one time. And then we gave him juice, and then we wanted to see. I'm just trying to make an example, practical example, how we should deal with one another in our community. and with ourselves and our families. If we take it slowly, then we're not being too much on ourselves, and we're not being too much on anyone else. And that deals with ihsan, hope and fear. Yeah, we have fear of oppressing someone, and oppressing them with good, by giving them too much. You've oppressed your brother. You just take it easy on them. This is what the Prophet ﷺ told Mu'adh. He said, take it easy, lest protect yourself against the dua of the oppressed. Right? Protect yourself against those who you're trying to help. Meaning, don't become overzealous. Like, oh my goodness, we have to finish all of this now, or else none of us are going to get the Jannah. No. Because even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told Sayyidina Musa, He reprimanded him to Allah. Why did you come rushing to me? See, when we're praying, the Imam is leading, we're not supposed to run to the prayer. We're not supposed to run. That's not how you approach Allah. Allah is Sabur. He knows what's in the heart, right? He looks in your heart first, then He looks at your amal. The hadith doesn't say He looks at your amal and then your heart. He looks at your heart. Is your heart in the right place? Yes. Okay. Then now come calmly and take your position. But that coming to Allah also deals with hope. We're hoping in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have a fear, a good fear in the maqam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we don't want to fall on the other side, where we have too much fear, which leads to dhulm, which we see all over the world. Either people are overly hopeful and it causes delusions. You know, someone's in a deluded state, you don't know what they're doing. They're deluded. It literally causes delusion, mental illness. If someone goes far enough, mental illness can do it. And someone on the other side also, too much fear can cause mental illness. You can lose your sanity. Too much fear. Everything is based out of fear. Questions.
I guess if I could ask you to elaborate about that, it says hard to do about balancing between fear and hope. That's we all study.
Inshallah. The question was to elaborate on how to balance. Inshallah, I'll just start with the actual definition the Shaykh puts in the book. It says, Ihsan is to be charitable in all circumstances, to initiate giving and to return good for good, and return good for wrong. And this is all proven in the Quran. This is all he takes this definition from the Quran itself, right? In Surah Al-Rahman, it says, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Right? And at the end of Surah Ibrahim, إِدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. Right? If someone wrongs you, so this becomes the practical, right? How do you balance? When someone wrongs us, we repel that wrong by trying to do the best we can, by showing excellence in return. Right? Someone, like from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, when the lady or his neighbor was putting the trash in his house, the day she didn't, he was interested. He never said anything bad. Right? He didn't return bad for bad. The least we can do is don't do anything. That's the least, right? But when we have the opportunity to do good, as soon as we can. Why? Because our real interaction is with Allah. This is one of the things that ihsan really helps cultivate. That Like for example, the Sheikh said that we, in all circumstances, we try to be charitable. So when we give sadaqah, for example, when you're placing the hand, what does the Prophet ﷺ say about when the person is giving sadaqah? To like say for someone who's in need, or are they giving it to them? Whose hand is it in before the money reaches the hand? Who knows the hadith? Nah. It's already in the hands of Allah. Right? So the inward is for Allah. The outward, we have to be living in this world. We live in this world, so we have to interact properly in this world, appropriately. So this is why the verse, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. These are practical examples. Someone sees, okay, we get in our car and we're going home. Now, with that, something happens. The first thing we realize, say there's an accident. First thing, you have to, we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ. Right? We restrain our anger. These are practical examples. How do you balance it? How does the idea of hope and the idea of fear come into the practice? These are the examples. The ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's many more. So I'm just touching on a few. The homework is to go back and look at all the places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives these to us. So it will shine the light for yourself. Right? It will shine the light for yourself. So,
I have a mental illness, schizophrenia to be exact. I have a mental illness. So how does one manage?
yeah. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to speak on that side. But in terms of, we must always remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in full control, right? And in any situation, the first response should be towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any situation. So you go home and you get an email, you get a promotion. The first thing is alhamdulillah, right? You return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of fear of what? Of God becoming too hopeful that maybe you did something overly good or something. But you just realize, no, the khair is from Allah, right? So you kind of control the too much hope. As well as the other side. If something happens, you control what we're trying to do is we're trying to control situations of hope and fear by returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. In that same verse, the one following it, in Surah Al-Imran, is that الَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ. And the one who commits a wrong deed, or upon someone else, or he oppresses himself. Allah is giving us the methodology. What to do now? When we realized, oh, I did this. What should I do? Zakarullah. Immediately remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, it will first balance you out. Just to remembrance of Allah. You keep saying it. Inshallah, you calm down. And then fastaghfir. You make istighfar. You understand that there is a shortcoming. So because now you're going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you and I are going back and we're seeking a light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we fell into darkness, right? The only way someone makes a mistake is because they fell into darkness. Some type of darkness, maybe a confusion, something like that happened, or they rushed. All of that is from some type of darkness. Because if you're in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can you make a mistake? No. If someone is in true remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they cannot make a mistake. But when someone does make a mistake, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. Remember your Lord after you have forgotten Him. Meaning that come back to Him. So on the side of, that's hope. Allah is saying it's very hopeful. Right? If you made a mistake of any sort, come back to Allah. But at the same time, right, you don't want to become very fearful, because too much fear, like Iblis, it pushes you away. It's bad fear. There's good fear, and then there's bad fear. Iblis has bad fear. It's bad fear. It keeps pushing him away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can't come back.
What is the difference between two terminology? Just like adl or ihsan or ihsan. What is the difference between these?
Adl is translated as justice. Justice. And that is one half of taqwa. And right? So taqwa is one of the 7 words that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He loves. Half of that is adl. The other half is afu, pardoning. Right? Pardoning. And the other word you said?
Adl.
Ihsan.
Ihsan. Ihsan is translated as excellence. Excellence. Yes. It's different. So someone does his, for example, his prayer excellently. He does his job excellently. And people know him. Say you're a doctor or you're a cleaner. Everyone knows, mashallah. That person, he knows how to do his job. Right? The task is done with, and how does that job become balanced? Maybe it's the person who doesn't know it consciously, right? Maybe he's not thinking of it, I'm hoping, trying to balance hope and fear. But in their action is already there.
This explanation you are giving me is given by any other scholar as well.
Yes, this is, no. So this is from the works of Imam Khalid Drame. So this one is called The Rejuvenation of the Soul. And this one is the 7 noble characteristics and their opposites that are from the Quran. He goes into much more detail in this book. I highly recommend this. He puts it alongside of the 7 people who get this shade of Allah on the Day of Judgment, and he shows how they are correlated. As well as a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ who says there are 7 deeds that will completely nullify your everything. So he shows how they're all connected. The 7 he loves in the Quran oppose them, putting them opposite of the 7 he does not love, and then the 7 people who will get the shade on the Day of Judgment, as well as the 7 people whose actions completely nullify all of their deeds. So it brings the theory into life. Now,
I'll ask you a question. This is regarding the hadith you mentioned last week. About the Sahabi whose name was Suhaib al-Rumi. Yeah. And you said Prophet ﷺ went from behind and grabbed himself, closed his eyes, and I think he was in the market. The Prophet ﷺ said, what price I would get for this slave? And he realized it was Prophet ﷺ, and he said to the Prophet ﷺ, I'm not worth much. The Prophet ﷺ said, the value of you is in the eyes of Allah. My question is, when he said, what would be the price of this slave? And you said he was Rumi, but he was dark skinned. In today's understanding, it would be considered as a racist comment. I know Prophet ﷺ was not racist. So how would someone respond to that?
okay, I see what you're saying. Oh, someone else. Yeah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not mentioning that because of his color or his complexion.
I'm not
But
sure.
there was other Sahaba that were also, like Sayyidina Umar, who's darker complexion, so on and so forth. So the color had nothing to do with it. He was initially just, he was kind of just teasing him.
Mhm.
Yeah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't mention color in the hadith. The story has nothing to do with color.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess that's another follow-up questions. I don't know much about the slavery in Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's time. Were the slaves only people of color or not? Or were they slaves of people with fair color, for example?
Okay, I think these questions, inshallah, at a different time. That doesn't pertain to the topic at hand, inshallah. But inshallah, we'll be addressing some other time.
Yeah.
I mean, we know just that one of the last things the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said at Hajjat al-Wada, that there's no preference. Arab over non-Arab, white over black, black over white. There's no, inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The person who is seen as high in the eyes of Allah is the one who cultivates taqwa.
I read that the Prophet said that a white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over a white.
Exactly. Yes.
So I don't think so.
Yeah. There's no racism at all allowed in Islam. I mean, this was part of the first sin, right? The first sin that Iblis did was that he looked at the outward form, not just color, just looking at the outward form only is a problem. Right? He said, I made out of fire because he's just looking at his outward form. But this comes back to Torah, right? It made him have kibr, arrogance. So the root of racism is arrogance. So what made Iblis not turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what made Adam turn back to Allah, even though they both made mistakes. Adam didn't listen to Allah, right? And Iblis, he misled him, right? But Adam, because of his humility, he turned back to Allah. And that's Tawbah. So the idea is the characteristic that of developing the characteristic. And so Adam went from just being a normal, he wasn't a prophet in Jannah. He wasn't. But after his mistake, Allah raised him high. Why? Because he cultivated the character of Tawbah, of returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك الحمد لله صلى الله عليه وسلم